In a game of Magic, sometimes you have to ask yourself, how much mana is enough? And the answer is yes. That's why today we're playing Goblin Combo. We want to make infinite mana by taking this guy, sacrificing him to this guy, a lot of times, as you know, yes, amount of times. With that mana, we throw it at the opponent and hopefully they lose the game. This is part 3 of Goblin Combo FNM Pauper Tournament Sunday. Here's part 2, here's part 1, enjoy. And now let's get into the games. As with every round in this tournament, I'm going first. And this hand, it's okay. We have part of the combo, we have draw in our little spell here. The only problem is we can't actually found a Skirk Prospector. We have to draw that naturally, but hopefully we get some time to dig and we're not against a too aggressive deck. Are we? We're playing against Mono Red Burn, so yes, we're up against an aggressive deck. This is Madness Mono Red Burn, so it discard cards to get effect off of that. I'm really glad I'm going first, to be honest. I play my Twisted Landscape, I crack it, I find a Swamp, and I pass the turn. My opponent on the other hand is way more aggressive. Red mana, Voltaren Epicure, 1/1. When it comes into play, it deals 1 damage to me and creates a blood token. A blood token can discard a card from your hand to draw a card, and that's a way to activate Madness in the deck, which is kind of scary to see turn 1. 1, because it speeds up his game plan by having the discard outlet, and 2, because there's a creature that can hit me. Luckily, Putrid Goblin is a phenomenal blocker against 1/1. Less lucky is the fact that any burn spell can stop my combo. When Putrid Goblin comes back from the graveyard with a -1/-1 counter, first day of class wants to put a trigger on the stack to give it a +1/+1 counter, and if you kill it with a lightning bolt while that's happening, the combo ends. And I have a feeling my opponent plays both lightning bolt and chain lightning, though I think chain lightning is a sorcery. My opponent plays a Firebrand Archer, which deals 1 damage to me every time he plays an instant or sorcery. I actually think it's non-creature spell, which means now all of his burn spells burns even more. This is bad news for me and puts a clock on me. I have no life gain in my deck so far, so I need to save all the health I can and combo off, you know, as fast as I can. For this turn, that means I need to play another combo piece, and also one that can threaten my opponent's creatures. I have a makeshift munition in hand that I choose to play this turn. I can sacrifice my creatures to ping down the Firebrand Archer if I need. And also, right now, if I just draw Skirk Prospector, I have the combo online. So if my opponent taps out, he might die at any point. I would also need to have a first day of class in hand though. So this is when my opponent has to think, can he afford to take time off and just leave mana open he might not be able to use? Because he's the aggressive deck, he has to kill me before I go off somehow, but he also has to consider, can he actually stop my combo in any way? And also, I guess he has to think of what's the fastest way to kill me. My opponent then plays the Faithless Looting, and I take 1 damage because of the Firebrand Archer going down to 18. He draws 2, and he discards 2. One of the cards he discards is a new card from the Spider-Man Universes Beyond, which has Mayhem, which means if it's been discarded this turn, you can play it from the graveyard for 2 mana. Usually it would have to be black to have some creatures to play off of Madness, like Kitchen Imp, but this new card enables you to play a mono-red Madness deck, which is cool. Now, if I had both First Day of Class and Skirk Prospector, I could win this turn. I do top deck a First Day of Class, however, the rest of everything I draw is just lands, and I do have a tutor in my hand, but it can't find a 1-drop, it can only find the 2-drops. So I have to cast this spell that's an Omen, where I can discard a card to draw 2 cards to try and find my combo. But even if I find it now, I can't play both pieces of it. So I'm gonna have to find that Skirk later. However, I do have this land that when I play it, it gives me a land, and that's also really good against aggro. My opponent has 7 power on the board, and I do have to ask myself, will I die this turn if I don't block? I can always block the 1/1. And blocking Firebrand Archer might also be worth it, simply to reduce the amount of damage I will take. My opponent drinks his blood, which makes him discard a card from his hand and then draw a card. Luckily, it's nothing with Madness, it's just a mountain, which is also a great use of it because it makes your hand more aggressive, like getting rid of a card that does nothing and drawing a 1/1 haste Mask Meower. It's a 1/1 haster, as I said. You can discard a card, sacrifice it to draw a card. So once you're done attacking with it, it can become a new card in your hand. And that's pretty cool, honestly. It's weird that it's a Spider Cat hero, though. Now I have to do some math. My opponent has 4 creatures. If I block a 1/1, I'll take 7. Then he can have a Fire Blast and a Lightning Bolt, which is another 7 damage, plus 2 from the Firebrand Archer, which is a total of 17, meaning if he has the best hand possible, I should only be at 2. So I'll block and hopefully combo off if my opponent taps out. But it doesn't go that poorly. I block the Masked Meower. He sacrifices it to draw an additional card, which triggered this Sneaky Snacker from the graveyard to come back into play tapped. I take 7 damage and there's no more burn spells this turn. Well, he might have them for my end step, but it also means there's 1 red untapped to stop me if I want to combo off right now. But I don't really have a choice. I have to go for it. My opponent is presenting too much damage for me to survive another turn, I fear. So here it is, the first day of class. It resolves, meaning I could just sacrifice my Putrid Goblin 3 times to kill all the ones with 1 power, but I'm gonna go for it and play this Skirk Prospector, and then sacrifice the Putrid Imp to it to generate 1 mana. My opponent lets it resolve, it comes back with a minus counter, I want to put a plus counter on, he lets that resolve, and I've presented a loop and explains I want to do that forever. My opponent does have a Lightning Bolt that he wants to interact with my loop with, so he presents it, but we have to figure out when in the loop he wants to use it. In my mind, he should have cast it when first day of class was on the stack to kill Putrid Goblins who would come back with a minus counter on it. Then the combo wouldn't work anymore and I couldn't sacrifice it to the makeshift munition to kill things. Currently, we're at the time where I have sacrificed my Putrid Goblin, I have 1 red in my pool, and I announce the trigger for my Putrid Goblin to come back with a -1/-1 counter. This is when my opponent chooses to use the Lightning Bolt to kill my Skirk Prospector. This does stop my combo. It does, however, allow me to sacrifice the Putrid Goblin a bunch of more times to kill every single creature on my opponent's board. If he had instead shot Putrid Goblin in response to first day of class putting a +1/+1 counter on it, I would no longer have a creature I could keep sacrificing to makeshift munitions. So here you see I have the loop, I kill all the creatures with 1 power by sacrificing my Putrid Goblin, it comes back with a minus counter on it, first day of class puts a plus counter on it, and it's a loop. So as long as I have mana, I can kill his creatures. And I get rid of everything. So while I didn't win this turn, this was very good for me, and if my opponent had known my deck better, I would be far more in a losing position right now. I have nothing to use my last mana for. The Spider Islanders have 3 toughness, so I can't kill them, so I shoot my opponent for 1, tapping out, because I don't want to fake having something I don't have. I don't play Lightning Bolt, so I can't fake having it. Well, I could, but that would be a weird play, I think. My opponent's going to flashback Faithless Looting, which will also get back the Sneaky Snacker. But I did make a mistake. When I cast my first day of class, I didn't use Learn. Technically, that is just a mistake on my end. When you learn, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. If you didn't discard a card, you may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand. I've simply at this point chosen to do neither of those mays. And we do see here that I'm going to remember to do those mays almost a turn too late, which I'm a little bit ashamed of. My opponent could have very well just said no at this point and it would have been, you know, my own mistake, and that's fair. While it is a FNM and a casual tournament, I do like to try to play as tight as possible. So doing this takesy-backsy so far after I was supposed to do it feels kind of bad for me. My opponent uses a Lightning Axe on my Putrid Goblin, killing it, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter. I'm generally pretty mean about letting my opponents do takesy-backsies, and I kind of try to hold myself to the same standard, so I wouldn't do this normally and I don't know why I did here. I think I just didn't realize that learning is May. My opponent attacks for 4, I block since my Putrid Goblin is useless on the battlefield as long as it has a minus counter. It's better to have it in graveyard in case I get it unearthed. I then play a Mock War Marshal, getting another token. This is really good because I can block the 4/3 for days now. But even better than blocking it is killing it, and I can sacrifice the Mock War Marshal. When it dies, I get a Goblin token, and I deal 1 damage to the Spider Islanders, and then I sacrificed my 2 other goblins to deal another 2 damage, killing it. And this way I got that 4-3 off of the battlefield. I have 11 life and there's only a 2-1 on my opponent's side. And he's basically out of cards, so I'm not afraid to die unless my opponent has 2 Fire Blasts or something, which he doesn't. He attacks me for 2 and I go down to 9, and as you can see, 2 Fire Blasts would still only put me to 1. It does worry me that he keeps 4 mana up, but at the same time it's good, because it probably means he only has burn spells and nothing that actually fills his hand back up with cards. For 3 mana, I use my Transmute ability on Shred Memory, which could also exile cards from the graveyard. And exiling stuff like Sneaky Snacker is good, but here it finds me my combo piece in Putrid Goblin number 2. And then, to find the combo pieces I need, I have a first day of class in hand and a Putrid Goblin, so it's just a Skirk Prospector. I choose to cast Introduction to Prophecy, which is the lesson I took in from my sideboard when I learned, or well, the turn after I learned because I did it as a mistake. It scries 2 and then draws a card, so it's a 3 mana Preordain. Excellent card. I mean, it is pretty good as a sideboard card you can get for free when you cast first day of class, but otherwise, I don't want to say the word garbage, but yeah, garbage. My opponent checks his graveyard for any flashback things that could help him win the game, then swings for 2, bringing me down to 7. You have no idea how many second takes I do. I'm gonna leave these 2 in just to show you how difficult this is for me. My opponent then does nothing with the 4 mana, which is scary. Then I use Unearth to bring back Skirk Prospector, and then I have the combo. But the chances of me getting to go off with an opponent who's mono red and has burn spells, I find kind of low. I'm very glad looking back at this footage, but first I'm very sad because I play this first day of class, it resolves, and I forget to use the learn. Then I play Putrid Goblin, and the reason I'm glad is because my opponent tries to Lightning Bolt the Skirk Prospector. I let it go into the graveyard, but I have a second Unearth, and then we do it. We sacrifice the Putrid Goblin to make a mana, it resolves the loop, and I make infinite mana, and then with that infinite mana, I infinitely sack Putrid Goblin to makeshift munition, and my opponent is dead. Well, apparently I shot this thing for a million first, but you know, he is dead. As soon as I point my finger at him, this match is over. You can see my finger. There we go. So I won't lie, that was pretty lucky. We were up against a burn deck and we kept a slow hand. I didn't know. My opponent drew a lot of lands too. My opponent didn't actually know how my deck combos, so couldn't use the lightning bolts to stop my combo. Because if that lightning bolt had been a bit earlier, I think we had lost this match. Now for sideboarding, I need my Sylvia Life Staffs. It's my only way to gain life. It's an equipment for 1 mana that equips for 1. And when equipped creature dies, I gain 3 life. I can combo with this as well and gain infinite life if I have the combo running. So because of that, I can take out my normal combo pieces and have the Sylvia Life Staffs instead. I also want these Nihil Spellbound because if I see Sneaky Snacker, I want Nihil Spellbound. As for my opponent, he just wants Tormod Crypts, which makes a lot of sense. It gets rid of Putrid Goblin while it's in the graveyard, and takes out Fiery Temper and Voldarian Epicure. I don't know if I agree with those. Those are both really good cards to kill me fast, but I don't know what else he should take out because, you know, I haven't seen his deck list, so that might be right. This time my starting hand is very decent, honestly. I have a tapped land turn 1, of course, which isn't great, but then I have a Putrid Goblin to block for a bit, Muck War Marshal to block for days, and the good old Surgeon can protect my combos from all burn spells. So let's see how it goes, and this time I'm more prepared for playing against a fast deck. However, I am on the draw, so that's scary. My opponent's gone down to 6 card and is keeping a 1-lander, but he does have a 1-drop, the 1/1 Haste Cat from the Spider-Man set that he swings in and brings me down to 19 before I can even play a land. And the good thing about this cat is, you can sacrifice it to go fish for a land in case you don't actually draw it naturally. I've talked about it before, but playing at your pace is really good. When you're playing against people in real life, especially at like a more casual FNM setting, there's a lot of talk going back and forth, and I had a lot of fun with my opponent. One of the things that leads to is that, you know, I can fetch and just pass the turn, telling them which land I'm gonna find and put it into play tap. Then my opponent can in the meantime get started on his turn and figure out what he wants to do for his turn. But the important thing is for my opponent when I'm starting to play at this speed, that he of course maintains the speed he wants to play at. He attacks me for an 1, bringing me down to 18, and then uses Faithless Looting to look for that second land, and he does find it. Remember, if your opponent is going too fast or too slow, you can sometimes talk about, the speed you should play at, or ask your opponent to explain what just happened. It's really important sometimes that the game is at a pace where you can keep up with what's happening. I had a lot of fun with my opponent. This was a really fun match to play. My opponent was fun, I had fun. My opponent discards 2 cards. One of them is a Fiery Temper, which has Madness. But since he hasn't played a land, he can't pay the Madness cost to play it. And that's kind of a missed opportunity, sadly. He does play the second land, but then doesn't have anything to do with it. On my turn 2, I play a Mock War Marshal, creating a 1/1 Goblin. Let's see if I can remember how Echo works this time around. My Mock War Marshal is really good here. It's blocking the 1/1, and my opponent spent turn 2 fixing his hand. So I'm very much in the driver's seat here. I have exceptional amount of blockers, and my opponent has to find a way to either start burning me for 18 life, or apply more pressure to the board. He plays a Grab the Prize, which is really good, discarding a Lightning Bolt to it. That means it deals 2 damage to me, and he can draw 2 cards. Usually you would want to discard something with Madness or a Sneaky Snacker, so you can get more value out of also discarding. This is the Madness part of the deck. This is me asking why the Fiery Temper wasn't saved, and then I realized, well, you only had 2 mana, you didn't get a 3rd land drop. So my opponent's 1 land has really been hurting him. In my upkeep, I have to sacrifice the Mock War Marshal. That net means another 1/1 Goblin, because I don't want to pay the Echo, as I need my mana to cast the Goblin Surgeon. This is really good. My opponent only has burn spells to stop my combo, and the Goblin Surgeon stops all his burn spells from stopping my combo. And then I play the Putrid Goblin, and then, all I need now is a Skirk Prospector, and I have infinite mana that can't be disrupted by burn. I attack for 2, bring my opponent down to 18, and then I pass the turn. Now my Putrid Goblin is a really good blocker because it, trades better than the 1/1s with his 1/1. So that cat is probably gonna have to be sacrificed soon just to find something good. My opponent still hasn't played his 3rd land on his turn 4, and now he has to consider what he wants to do. He needs to either find a land or start applying a lot of pressure, because right now I'm out aggroing the aggro player, which is kind of odd. But not to give anything away, I think my opponent's looking at 1 card in his hand, thinking about how does it actually work. He decides to play a Faithless Looting to look for that 3rd land, because being this far behind on lands in this matchup right now is probably very bad for him. Now, he ends up discarding 2 more cards that do not do anything when discarded. No Madness, no Sneaky Snackers. So his deck is kind of not doing what it's supposed to now. However, with these 2 mana he has now, because he found his land, he plays a Suplex. Suplex has 2 modes. He chooses the one where it deals 3 damage to a creature, and if that creature would die, it is exiled instead. This would stop my Putrid Goblin from coming back with Persist, but I can still use my Goblin Surgeon to regenerate my Putrid Goblin. And this causes some confusion on how these 2 mechanics interact. Of course, I believe I'm correct, and my opponent should not trust my word, so we do the reasonable thing, and we ask the judge of the tournament. Judges love being called. They love getting to show how smart they are. So we had 3 of the people who are level 1 judges at the tournament quickly discuss what would happen. Regenerate is a replacement effect, which means the next time a permanent would be destroyed this turn, it isn't. Instead, tap it, remove all damage from it, and remove it from combat. So while Suplex would exile it if it died, Regenerate says that it doesn't ever die and instead becomes tapped. So Regenerate's replacement effect happens, and then Suplex never has anything to replace. This is one of those situations where you just have to know the rules, and if my opponent asked if he could take the play back, maybe I would have let him. I don't know, but for now, it's a good thing for me, so I'm keeping it. I play a Goblin Matron, which allows me to find a Goblin from my deck and put onto my hand. And since I already have a Putrid Goblin, I'm gonna go find a Skirk Prospector. That way I can have the combo for infinite mana next turn, and it can't be disrupted by lightning bolts thanks to the Surgeon. And now that we know how Suplex works, it's also safe from that. I attack my opponent for 3, bringing him down to 15. And suddenly this game is looking very good for me. My opponent has sadly wasted all his momentum playing a 1-1 and playing a suplex that didn't do a lot. But he can still get back into this. 16 life, while it is a lot, is not impossible to burn down. And if he has a way to disrupt my combo, even though that's gonna be difficult now, I think he can take this still. My opponent plays another Grab the Prize and discards a lightning bolt to it. This means that Grab the Prize will do 2 damage to me and he will draw 2 cards. However, once again, this is not something you want to discard. It's not anything with madness or anything that does something when it's in the graveyard. So, other than the so-called play mistake my opponent made, he's also just kind of not getting a good hand here. He's screwed on lands. He's not discarding the things he's supposed to, and he's doing very minimal damage to me with those Grab the Prizes. Even if I am brought down to 14, this is not the kind of explosive hand you want to see. Oh, that's a Fire Blast. The Fire Blast has to go for my Goblin Surgeon. I sacrifice my Goblin Surgeon to regenerate my Putrid Imp, and this was a mistake on my part. I can actually sacrifice a Goblin to regenerate the Goblin Surgeon. But for some reason I let it die, then my opponent attacks for 1, I block with the Matron. He sacrifices the cat to draw another card. This time he discarded a Spider Islanders and gets to play it with the Mayhem cost, giving him a 4-3 into play. My opponent is tapped out, so I play my Skirk Prospector, and even if I let my Surgeon die, I'm not that upset, because I can also sacrifice a Goblin, tap a mana, and play First Day of Class. And now I have my combo, which can make infinite mana, and the only thing my opponent could have to stop me is a Fire Blast. He does not sacrifice his remaining lands to stop me. I get my Introduction to Prophecy into hand from my sideboard, cast it, and I'm looking for something that can win the game right here, right now. Now, I do find something. I find a Goblin Matron, but there's one problem. The things I want to tutor up with the Goblin Matron, I've sideboarded out all the Goblin Slitters and the Dark Dweller Oracle. Those could just instantly win the game with the infinite sack outlet and infinite mana. But my Goblin Matron right now cannot find a Goblin that does anything with infinite mana. So I have to get creative. You can see I'm searching my deck thinking, well, whoopsie, I made a sideboard mistake. First I think I'll find this Mog War Marshal, get some more power on the board, but then clicks in my brain, if I want more power on the board, I should just find Goblin Matron. I have infinite mana. So I play a Goblin Matron, and then that Goblin Matron finds another Goblin Matron, which then finds a Putrid Goblin, because all of these are then my biggest goblins. And they all will come into play with haste from the First Day of Class and a +1/+1 counter. So because I don't actually have a way of dealing infinite damage or going infinite with Dark Dweller Oracle, I have to find another way. I play another First Day of Class because it will give me another Introduction to Prophecy, and with that I could find my Makeshift Munitions and that would win the game instantly right now. But as it stands, I'm actually looking very good. I can play another Goblin from my hand, and each of those Goblin Matrons do have a +1/+1 counter on them. And my opponent's only at 15, and I don't think he with 1 card in hand can deal 14 damage to me on his next turn, even if he has a 4-3 in play. I don't find anything that can win the game right now with the Introduction to Prophecy, but it's okay, because I just start counting up the damage, and then I realize I should just go on the offense. I just need to kill my opponent before they kill me, and then everything is fine. I do look in my hand for a little bit. If I had more black mana, I could transmute my Shred Memory and go find the Makeshift Munitions, but I only have 1 black mana left, so that's not an option, sadly. So here I attack with everything, and my opponent blocks 1 of the Goblin Matrons, which is fine. And I keep some blockers at home just so I don't die, because the Spider Islanders don't have Triangle, so I can always just block them. I bring my opponent down to 7, and then next turn, unless they play more blockers, I will win this game. So This was me screwing up my own sideboard and then trying to find another way to make it through the game anyway. And it's a big learning moment for me. Never sideboard out all the goblins. Always keep the Dark Dweller Oracle so you can play your whole deck. And then, you know, you could attack with all the goblins in the deck that way. For my opponent's turn, he draws a card. He has 2 cards in hand and a 4/3. I do have to block the 4/3 if I go down to 10. I imagine there's some world where I die, but I don't actually think that's true. I block with 2 goblins, dealing 3 damage to the 4/3, so it dies. That way I'm sure my opponent can't, you know, do any shenanigans. He has to flashback a Faithless Looting to find an answer for the damage I have on board. I have 8 damage, he has 7 life, he discards 2 cards, counts it out, and then he says GG, shows me his hand, and I win. That's 2 wins. If we win the last one, it's prizes, baby. I have had more practice with the deck than I thought, having seen others play it and knowing how it works. And the opponents I've played against clearly don't know exactly when to interrupt it. To be fair, neither did I, but I'm not the one playing against it. I think this deck is great right now. I like it. I want to bring it again another time, but there's a bunch of decks I want to try out. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we do have a final boss, which is next video. So if you want to see that, like, subscribe, comment, other things. Play Magic. Go play Pauper. Go find store, play Pauper. Bye.